On a chilly night at Soldier Field, the Vikings needed a win, and they get it. A 17-9 victory over the Bears this evening. Welcome to Vikings Postgame Live, presented by Miller Lite. I'm Tatum Everett. Coming up in the show, we will hear from head coach Mike Zimmer. We'll also go to Soldier Field between the lines and break down some film with our analyst today, Vikings legend Robert Smith, who joins us here at the desk right now. The Vikings are back at 500 for the third time this season. The playoffs are still in sight. Doesn't matter how you do it, Robert, it got done.
You're absolutely right. And how many times have we sat here this season where it was a missed field goal at the end? It was a made field goal by the opposition in overtime. We can talk about all these stats. The Bears almost doubled us up in yards today. You can talk about every one of those stats. The only stat that matters at the end of the day, did you win the game? Yes, you did. And you got to 500. And you're at number 7 in the playoff hunt right now. Of course, Washington going to be playing Philadelphia tomorrow. They could overtake that spot, but you got the win.
Yeah, let's take a look at that playoff picture right now. The Vikings in that 7th and final playoff spot at 7-7. You'd like to see the Eagles going to win over Washington so that the Vikings can stay there. But still 3 games left in the season to go. This is through week 15. Vikings are now 7-7 after a youth movement today. Some bright stars from today's game. We'll also talk about how Zimmer's defense came to play, but also how Dalvin Cook continues to be a force on the field. But you know, Robert, it's funny. 13 of 14 games now have been decided by 8 points or fewer, 11 straight, thanks to that last-second Justin Fields touchdown. Made your heart beat a little bit. Well, in the first, let's get to those highlights. The second possession of the game, Dalvin Cook, a gain of 7 yards to set up this play. Kirk Cousins finds Justin Jefferson for the first touchdown of the game.
Yeah, and of course that secondary for Chicago depleted today, and they tried to double up Justin Jefferson most of the day, but he did a nice job getting to the corner of the end zone, then busting that grid. He had a little bit of practice with Randy Moss before the game with it as well.
I saw that. Well, they must have also saw this because Cam Dantzler forcing the fumble. Vikings get the ball. They were very gratuitous today. Here's the Bears once more. Sheldon Richardson gets a strip fumble and tells Mike Zimmer to challenge this play.
Was a huge play right here. You could see Sheldon Richardson coming in and knocking the ball out, but then going over to the sideline and having the conference. Remember, this was the play when Chicago lined up offsides, but he said, no. Go ahead, throw that challenge flag. I got that ball out before he hit the ground.
Here in the third quarter, Fields was pestered all day by DJ Wanham. He really stepped up in his role this evening.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about the specific way that he was able to get some of those sacks, but a great performance from DJ Wanham. And here the touchdown pass to Amir Smith-Marset, the rookie out of Iowa.
Puts him to sleep. He felt like he put some of those guys
He was bored. I had so much room
right?
out here. I'm going to take a little nap.
Still in the third, Justin Fields scrambling. We saw him do some good things with his legs, but able to contain him right here. Another sack, I think, by Wanham. Big play there. You see Mike Zimmer all fired up. And then 17-3 here in the fourth. Fields trying to make something happen. He slides, and Eric Kendricks collides with him. The referee's unnecessary roughness call ejects Kendricks from the game.
Boy, this is a really tough call, and I'm not even sure what the specific subjective language in the rules that they used to justify that one. Definitely went to the head. Definitely should have been a penalty on that play. But an ejection for that, to me, seemed over the top.
You know, a win is so important right now, but I think it's very startling to see only 61 passing yards against a Bears secondary who didn't have any of their starters due to the COVID-19 reserve list.
Yeah, I mean, this is the worst passing performance of Kirk Cousins' career, but it doesn't all go on Kirk Cousins. You look at that offensive line and the performance of that defensive line of Chicago today. They harassed Kirk Cousins, really made him uncomfortable back there. I thought there were opportunities that he had to slide or climb in the pocket, but they didn't get him on the move enough, and you're absolutely right. Just it's not enough out of the passing game, and you didn't have enough consistency out of the run game.
Yeah, you can just see the disparity in the total yards. You see the disparity in the turnovers. Obviously, Chicago with 3 turnovers today, 8 penalties. It was very telling of what was going on.
Well, you hit the nail on the head right there. That's the one thing, the penalties. That was a killer. And how many times have we said earlier in the season that the penalties were a killer for us? But today, it was the Bears at home that made the big mistakes that cost them the game.
Yeah, it almost felt a little bit like the referees had some big calls that were major momentum changes in this game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But you go back to that play with Sheldon Richardson. That was just a heads-up play right there. I mean, it's great that a player like that knows that he made the play, but then going over there and having the communication with Mike Zimmer on the sideline. That's the mechanics on game day where the player and the coach get things figured out, and it ends up working out in your favor.
Well, and now you have to go and play this team again in 3 weeks. Isn't that crazy? But at least it'll be here in U.S. Bank Stadium.
Yeah, and this is one of those kind of games where it's a little bit uncomfortable in film study because you're looking at it and you're like, oh, I just can't believe that we left all that on the field. But I'm telling you, it is the greatest feeling in the world because you are going in there, you're watching those mistakes, but you know what? You're correcting mistakes from a win. And you're thinking, there are so many things that we could have done better today and played so much better. And the next time you get them at home.
You can do those correct things all over again. Well, I know head coach Mike Zimmer will be excited to watch that tape, break it down, and be ready for that final game. Here he is at the podium right now.
All right, it's good to get a win tonight. Again, I thought there was a lot of good things, some things we need to definitely clean up. I thought we were in control of the game for the most part the entire time. It was disappointing offensively. We didn't move the ball very well, I didn't think, in the second half. Gave them too many opportunities. And defensively, we had some turnovers. I thought they played real hard. I thought we did a decent job on the quarterback running. But for the most part, I thought we played a good football team. Their pass rush is definitely outstanding with Quinn and Hicks. All of the guys they have. But it was good to get a win tonight.
How did that pass rush challenge what you wanted to accomplish in the passing game against the secondary that didn't have starters?
Yeah, well, they played a whole bunch of umbrella coverage, which we expected them to do. But they, we probably threw the ball too much, to be honest with you, early. I thought we were running the ball very well, and early in the ball game, we tried to throw it a little bit too much. Try to get some shots over the top of them, and they did a good job back there. And when he had to pull the ball down, he got too much pressure and got sacked. So, these teams that play these umbrella coverages against us, we're going to have to, dink and dunk it a little bit.
What did the officials tell you about Kendrick's ejection, and what was your take on it?
Yeah, I didn't get a good explanation really. They came over late and said they thought he had an elbow to the head. I thought I saw it pretty cleanly, and I thought the quarterback slid and kept his head up, and Eric was going down and kind of raised his head up to try to avoid it, and I thought they bumped heads. I didn't think it was anything real, I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
How do you think your team handled just the general chippiness kind of constantly throughout the game?
Yeah, I think for the most part they did a good job. I know that it helped us a couple times because they got 15-yard penalties. We try to be a disciplined football team and not do those kind of things. So, but when you get your manhood challenge, sometimes you react, and we just have to keep. I talked to the offense, I talked to the defense about being composed and just doing our job.
Hey, Mike, with that Sheldon Richardson forced fumble in the first half, did he talk you into challenging that, or what was the law?
Yeah, he did. He promised me that it was a fumble, and I just talked to him. He said when I looked at him, he thought, I can't say what he said, but I said I'm glad you were right. I said nice challenge to him too, by the way.
Is it? I mean, even though the Bears are depleted and all that with the chippiness and gritty, low scoring, is this just a typical game you guys always have at Soldier Field here?
Yeah, it seems like. I mean, it's always been a tough trip. Division games are always tough. They play extremely hard. I still believe they're well coached. They do a good job with the things that they're trying to do and give you a lot of actually, offensively, they can give you a lot of problems. And then defensively, Roquan Smith's a great, terrific player, and the front guys, and they didn't have their two safeties tonight, and they're both good players as well.
What do you think of the night that DJ Wanham had?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know that he had the 3 sacks. I mean, I was just happy we had some. DJ's a kid that continues to try to get better each and every week. He's very athletic and can do a lot of things, and I think it's starting to come a little bit where he's being a little bit more freelancey a little bit, and not so robotic. So I think maybe that's helping him.
Are you frustrated at all just on that final play where I know it's a late touchdown on the final play? Does it matter at that point? Is that just like a...
It didn't matter at that point because, I thought the game should have been over on the play before. It was 6 seconds on the clock, and we won't talk about the clocks in Chicago here anymore.
You still look at it that moving forward, if you're going to reach the playoffs, reach your goal, you still need to play better than you did tonight.
Yeah, we definitely. Yeah, every week we need to continue to get better. That's the big thing. It's not just playing better. It's getting better. It's getting better in run defense. It's getting better in pass coverage. It's getting better in protection. It's getting better in running the ball. It's all those things. We're trying to get better so we can, if we can get to that spot where we got to get to, that's the important part.
Like, what did you make of just how the defense came up with some just clutch plays? And it's sort of been an issue at times this year, but
yeah, it was nice. It was nice. It's the first half last week was really good. The second half wasn't any good. This game we had some moments where it wasn't very good, but they fought. I was very, very hard on them this last week. Very demanding. I'm not saying that's the reason why, but these guys have a lot of pride too. So we just got to keep grinding on them, keep trying to get them better, keep working on the things that they need to improve on. But that's the important thing, is that we try to get better. These last 3 weeks, we not just show up and roll the balls out. Let's get better.
When you say very demanding in December, what does that mean?
Pardon me?
What does that mean? What does that look like when you say very demanding?
You wouldn't have liked that meeting. You might have liked it, but they didn't like it very much. But
all right, good.
Thank you.
All right, Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer really liked what he said towards the end about challenging the defense to play a full game, play better. And he's right, getting those stops. They bend, but they didn't break in those critical moments.
And I thought it was also telling, it's not just about getting to 500. It's not just about getting the win. Are you actually getting better? Are you out there playing your best football? It's not just enough. And I think that obviously you're happy about it, but you want to treat wins the same way that you treat losses. All right, let's enjoy this for 24 hours. But you know what? Did we get better today? Are there things that we can do to improve? And it's not just can we qualify for the playoffs. Can we play our best football and advance in the playoffs? And I think that it says a lot about Coach Zimmer, but it says a lot about this team and the way that they've responded to adversity, and some of those Sundays where the things haven't gone the way that you wanted them to go, in some games where you played your better football even, and things didn't turn out well. Well, now you can take a win and still try and get better. There are things that you didn't do the way that you really wanted to do them to play your best football.
And there are several young players that might be playing some of their best football right now. And I'm talking about Amir Smith-Marset with his first career touchdown, DJ Wanham, his first multi-sack career game, and Kene Nwangu with 3 carries, 33 yards. You didn't see him that much, but his speed was very evident today.
Yeah, no question about it. You could see that all the way in his days back at Iowa State. But DJ Wanham, you hear him talking about DJ Wanham and his athleticism. But I think the thing that was most impressive to me about DJ Wanham today, playing a quarterback like Justin Fields, you have to be very disciplined in the way that you rush. You have to be intelligent with that rush. And we could really see that in some of the highlights as we take a look at DJ Wanham coming off of the edge here. They don't really do a good job blocking him, but the good thing here is that he doesn't leave his feet. because he doesn't leave his feet, he's able to get on Justin Fields. He's able to close that gap quickly before Justin Fields can do anything. He's in his face to make that sack. And here you see him closing in off of the edge. They're doing a pretty good job of blocking him, but he is relentless, and he anticipates where Justin Fields is going to turn to escape right there. Very intelligent on that pass rush. Here you see Amir Smith lined up on the outside, but look who's lined up in the backfield. Justin Jefferson. Chicago was trying to double him all day long. They get 2 defenders on him right here, but Amir Smith-Marset able to get to the outside. Kirk Cousins able to find him wide open. As you mentioned before, he was so bored, he was just going to go ahead and take a little bit of a nap after that touchdown
he looks
reception.
Like he'd been planning that one.
He does. He was definitely planning that one. And here we see Wongwu in the backfield does a tremendous job. Watch the vision here. Doesn't go to that false daylight to the left, to the outside. He finds the first vertical seam in the defense, turns on the jets, and is able to get those extra yards. That's going to be important moving forward. I think we know that Mackenzie Alexander is a solid back, and he's been doing a nice job of filling in for Dalvin Cook at times. But that explosion that you see out of Kene Nwangwu, that's very impressive. And he's going to be dangerous, not just handing the ball off to him, but catching the ball out of the backfield as well. And
I loved your tweet saying that it's great to see another number 26 flying out of the backfield, as we all.
I got it. I love seeing it. Number 26. Turning on
good.
The Jets.
He's got some big shoes to fill, but we've got some confidence in him. Let's move on to the defensive side of things. A big night for that unit. I know we talked a lot about them already this evening, but I think for me, the biggest thing that stuck out was the amount of trips to the red zone, and they walk away with 0 points. And then you have 2 of 5 on 4th down. Those moments to me were big because you were able to stop the momentum that the Bears almost seemed to be cooking.
Yeah, and I can't say enough good things about the way that the defense played. And we know that there have been times where there have been injuries, there have been people in and out because of COVID protocols. But those guys, they rose up when they needed to the most. And that's what you talk about all the time. You talk about the way that defenses can give up those gash plays. And we saw some of those early gash plays from Montgomery in the run game for Chicago. But 20-20. You know, you give up some of that yardage in there, but then you really tighten up in that red zone, and that's what we saw today.
Yeah, Justin Fields was the first time the Vikings have seen him, the first time he's seen a Mike Zimmer style defense as well. He was 26 of 39 for 285 and a touchdown, no interceptions, which, you know, has been something he's been plagued with this year.
Yeah, and that mobility can be so dangerous, and you could really hear it from Coach Zimmer right there. He talked about how dangerous this offense can be. That offense can be dangerous, especially when Justin Fields gets to the outside, because he is just so quick when he turns those jets on. But this play right here from Cam Dantzler, I thought was just tremendous. And of course, with Breeland being out at cornerback, Dantzler in this week, watch the reaction right here. But the angle that he takes, coming in from the outside and turning Justin Fields back inside, and he's able to get that shoulder pad on that ball, knock that ball loose, and of course Anthony Barr able to pick up the fumble on that one.
Yeah, it was really promising to see those turnovers. Unfortunately, though, 3 points off of them, and sometimes they got lucky this week, but sometimes it'll come to bite you.
Yeah, there's absolutely no question about it, but hey, just glad that it ended up the way that it did today. And again, you know, we've had so many games this year where the performance has been great, and you thought going into the fourth quarter it looks tremendous, and then it either gets tied or lose the game late. It goes into overtime. You have a game like this where statistically you didn't have exactly what you wanted, but you got the win.
Yep.
Feeling pretty good about that.
A lot of that thanks to a guy coming off of his best performance of the season, Dalvin Cook. He was still strong today, and obviously, as you said, with Alexander Madison out, he really needed to fill a lot of that time there in the backfield. It's now his 3rd consecutive season with 1,000 yards, and only 3 others have done that in Vikings history. Adrian Peterson, Chuck Foreman, and somebody else we know. You, Robert.
Hey.
There you go. So he's in some very good company right there.
Well, it's fun. It's fun to watch. And again, you know, being a guy that does some college football, covering college football. You see these guys at that level, and then you see him make that transition. He was a lot of fun to watch when he was at Florida State. So excited when we picked him up, and we've seen exactly why he was such a highly touted player coming out of high school and then coming out of Florida State. It's just such an explosive player.
And just today we found out that Dalvin has been picked for his 3rd consecutive Pro Bowl appearance, alongside Justin Jefferson, his 2nd in 2 years. It's only ever been done by Randy Moss and Sammy White for the Vikings, so he's also in some pretty good company there. And Harrison Smith was voted as the top NFC safety and earns his 6th Pro Bowl nomination. So congratulations to those 3 guys. And, the Pro Bowl's in Vegas this year, so Viva Las Vegas, I guess. And Siri apparently agrees with us, Robert. Dalvin Cook today, 28 carries, 89 rushing yards. Not a very, a performance that jumps off the page, but there in the beginning of the game, time of possession was pretty key early on.
Yeah, and you could hear Coach Zimmer talking about that as well. He thought that they should have been running the ball a little bit more. Try to get some of those throws in there. And that's what you do sometimes as an offensive play caller when you're going against a team like the Chicago Bears that had their entire starting secondary out. You kind of get caught up in that mindset, well, we have to take our shots. We've got to prove that we can throw the ball against those guys. But they got a little bit off track, and it doesn't take a whole lot, and you start losing those possessions.
And as you mentioned earlier, Justin Jefferson doubled today. He had a really hard time getting separation. 4 receptions, 47 yards. A quiet day for JJ, but he did get that touchdown, which is nice.
Yeah, it was nice, and he got a little chance to celebrate with Randy Moss. He was doing a little bit of that gritty out in the field beforehand.
Jersey, and then Randy told him he was in the Pro Bowl. What a moment, right?
What a tremendous moment for him.
What a moment. And here's a look at his route chart. He was targeted 10 times in the game.
Absolutely. So, why not? You want to go after him when you can, but again, so many things that you're going to be able to correct looking at this game. And I think, again, offensive line in particular. You did have Darisaw in at that left tackle spot, and then we saw Mason Cole playing that right guard spot next to Bradbury. And, of course, they had done some shuffling right there. A lot of improvement, I think, that's going to be coming from that offensive line.
Kirk Cousins, 12 of 24 tonight for 87 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. In the last 2 games, he's thrown 3 picks and only averaged 5.5 yards per attempt. Just feels like he hasn't looked as comfortable in the last 2 games as we're used to seeing in Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and again, I think part of that has been that offensive line hasn't been what it's needed to be. You haven't been able to have the consistency to balance with the run game and the pass game, because when you get that run game going, you can get that play action going, you can start moving that pocket a little bit. I think that's when Kirk's at his best, when they're actually moving the pocket for him. But if you look at his performance today and really over the last couple of weeks, which you really haven't seen, is when the line has broken down, there have been some opportunities for Kirk either to slide or climb inside of the pocket. He just hasn't done a good job negotiating inside of the pocket. Some of those have turned into sacks when they haven't needed to be.
Yeah. Do you think it's a bit of just a confidence thing that he can get over mentally?
Well, it's a quarterback position, right? I mean, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and it's why it's the most important position in all of sports. So what is it? It's hard to say. It's funny to me, though, when we hear people say that this quarterback struggles when they get hit. Every quarterback struggles when they get hit. You have 300-pound defensive linemen that are going to be hitting you sometimes absolutely free, right? It's got to be in your mind. If it happens once or twice, you're thinking about that throughout the course of the game, and it can't be good for your performance.
Well, I think it's about time to head back out to Soldier Field. We'll catch up with Gabe Henderson and Pete Bursich in Between the Lines.
All right, Tatum. Well, this was a weird game. Pete Bursich is here with me, and the Vikings do get a win right before Christmas, but this all that matters. This felt like a Christmas gift, but it's like wrapped by a person who wore gloves like this. It's absolutely just kind of weird. Yeah. We'll take the gift, but it's kind of weird. Dalvin Cook had more rushing yards than Kirk Cousins had passing yards. We averaged 3.1 yards per play, but we still won the game.
I mean, Robert Quinn and Akeem Hicks were just on fire tonight, and it really got in the way in the timing of our passing game. Cousins didn't have a lot of time, maybe on some play actions and those kinds of things, but when you go against a defense that's starting 5 or 6 new defensive backs. I mean, some of these guys were off the street. You would hope that we would get a little bit more in the passing game. I think they double-teamed JJ all night long. They had a corner and a safety over the top constantly on him. Amir Smith-Marset comes up with a nice, touchdown reception. He had JJ coming out of the backfield, which I think, wouldn't allow them to really figure out the double team that well. So, yeah, it was. Yeah, they got the Cousins. They got them on the ground. And we knew that their front four was good enough to do that, and they did, and that limited us in the passing game, no question about it. However, they continually shot themselves in the feet with penalties and muff punts and all these different things that fumbles, which ultimately is why the Vikings won this football game.
Yeah, I think it was combined 17 penalties, combined 4 turnovers. They had more total yards than we had total yards, like I said before we got the win. But still, our defense, it was more so bend but don't break.
You're right.
This was a team where we were one of 5 in the red zone, and their one red zone score was on the last play of the game.
I mean, situationally, our defense did a great job on third down, really all throughout the night. And they did a really good job in the red zone. The Bears won 4 on fourth down a number of times tonight. Numbers there were pretty good. So, you play the game well in certain situations. I mean, you held them to 9 points. They gave them a touchdown in that last play of the game, but for the most part, 3 points throughout the game. You're doing something right. I mean, Fields, he had Darnell Mooney, and that was it. So, they were missing a few key pieces here and there, but overall, the defense I thought did a nice job. They were physical, and you have to be. David Montgomery did a decent job running the football, but I think Michael Pierce played one of his better games that we've seen him play, getting in the backfield of Chicago. And we got to figure out this blocking a 3 technique. Akeem Hicks, had a really great game, but we're going to be seeing Aaron Donald here in a few days. And, the Rams, they have a very, very good interior pass rush. Obviously, we're going to be at home on turf, so that's going to help. But, one game at a time, 1 week at a time. With the Saints winning, we had to win. And, we're keeping ourselves in the thick of this race.
Tatum, the Vikings are now officially in the playoffs if the season ended today. So
but it doesn't.
But it doesn't. But how about that for a Christmas gift?
There we go.
Yeah, we need to get Pete some gloves for Christmas. He's out there, the Chicago native, braving the cold, and then Gabe and I would have our gloves on because we're just, thin blood.
The Joliet guy goes with the wet blanket at the end, too, right? Yeah, but it doesn't. The season doesn't end today.
No, I know. Well, let's take a look at the NFC North and see how things are shaking up. I really don't feel like we have to update the standings all that much, but this was a huge game. I don't know if you guys caught it this weekend. I sure did. The Lions with a 30-12 win.
Oh, that was impressive.
The Cardinals starting to look like they're falling apart just a bit before the playoffs.
Yeah, Murray was he's been a little bit banged up, but that was a solid performance for Dan Campbell.
And then those pesky Packers inking out with a 31-30 win against the Baltimore Ravens. Aaron Rodgers still doing Aaron Rodgers things, which has led them to the top of the NFC North standings, and really the top of the NFC North at 11-3, especially after the Saints shut out Tom Brady last night. I said if the Vikings lost tonight, I wouldn't try and throw my Microsoft Surface across the room. I need it for the show, so I was going to keep it right here. So thank you, Vikings, for winning, so that my Surface is intact. Okay. It is okay. But looking forward, Pete and Gabe did talk about that Rams game coming up and just how important that is for the rest of this season. They play tomorrow night, so they'll get a chance to come off of a short week. The Vikings have a little bit of extra time to get ready.
Yeah, but Pete hit the nail on the head. How do you block that 3 technique? I mean, Aaron Donald from the inside of that defensive line from L.A. The first play of the game and the last play of the game against the Arizona Cardinals. He had a sack in that one. Jalen Ramsey, of course, on the outside. The offensive line for the Vikings has got to play better. The run game didn't work tonight. The pass game didn't work tonight, or it wasn't at its best because the offensive line wasn't at its best. If it's not at its best against L.A., the Vikings will lose.
All we want for Christmas is a Vikings win, or at least the day after Christmas. You see, there's a noon kickoff, December 26th.
1 day late, Christmas present is fine with us.
I think that would be totally okay. We'll head into things. And obviously, at 7-7, with a win against the Rams, the Vikings would have a winning record for the first time since 2019 and keep their postseason hopes alive. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight to Vikings Postgame Live. Staying up late with me and Vikings legend Robert Smith. We will see you guys next Sunday.